G'day folks, Cricket here. Right, we're going to get into some solar cooking and build a solar oven to cook up some solar s'mores. If you haven't done this before, it's a challenge, but not using electricity, rather using the sun to cook up a small sweet treat. So let's get into it, hey? Alright, firstly, just an introduction to Earth Tribe. So for those in scouting who've at all sections, all levels, from Joey's through the Rovers, this can apply to you. Earth Tribe's a new program that has come from the World Scouting Organisation, and Australian Scouts adopted that in early 2020 and 2021. Now, as part of this, it's a partnership between the Worldwide Fund for Nature and WASM, the World Scouting Organisation. And what does it mean for you, though? It means more badges. As you can see, the Panda badge is back. It was here in the 80s and 90s, disappeared with the World Scout Environment Program, and now back as Champions for Nature. And there's a heap of activities and challenges there for youth members of Scouting to get into. Similarly, plastic tide turners, it's a new program there, obviously focused on plastic and getting it out of waterways and the environment. And focused on what we're doing is Scouts Go Solar, which is my personal interest and favourite, with so many opportunities in the solar space for scouting that, yeah, it's never ending. So opportunity for badges for Scouts, otherwise it's just more fun activities, regardless of whether you want badges in scouting or otherwise. Okay, getting into Scouts Go Solar side of things, my personal favourite. Where we get to explore solar, the impact of solar and how we can utilise the sun and all things solar in activities across scouting and the great outdoors. Now, as part of that, we'll follow the same process that we always do in terms of plan, do, review. It's been around for a long time, it's nothing new here. So by planning out a good activity, you make sure you have all your resources, everybody's safe, and we know everybody knows what we're doing. Doing the activity, sometimes we'll come across challenges, sometimes it'll run smoothly. We adapt, we overcome, we have fun, we keep people safe. And then in reviewing the process, that's really looking at what went well, what we could improve upon, and some of the challenges and how would you do things next time to make things go better. So that's pretty standard stuff. Scouts Go Solar in particular, it's a range of activities from cooking, using the sun, or solar power, which is the focus of today's activity in the solar s'mores, and using that same approach to maybe cook a damper or scones using the sun, or even a dal, a vegetarian curry in a solar cooker as well. Other things you can do if you're interested is look into solar art, looking at solar power. How would you use that for a camp or other things? And looking at some of the survival skills, especially in scouting and the outdoor adventure skills, setting up some water purification setups and solar stills and the like. So those in scouting, look at the special interest areas, the SIAs. Might be an easy project and really interesting project for you to get into. So that's some of the background to Scouts Go Solar and the scouting program. So let's get into it. Let's get these solar s'mores and the solar oven underway and get this activity going for you. Hey? Okay, the box design or box size for your solar oven, it really depends on what you're going to cook, what shape you want to make. Now, when you look at it, the bigger the box, the more air is going to be in there that has to get heated up potentially. So minimising the size of what box you use will get different results. It's all about trial and error, testing it out, learning as you go with this. So obviously the bigger box, it's going to let more sunshine in, but also potentially any hint of breeze will cool things off very quickly too, so but you don't want it too small. So a few considerations in terms of the design side of the solar oven. Alright, bits and pieces you need to make your solar oven. Very simple design construction, finding the box that suits the shapes and needs of what you want to do. Some masking tape, sticky tape, whatever you have on hand that works. It's pretty flexible. Some tin foil, aluminium foil, which is a reflectance for the sunlight in there. Cling wrap, which will put a cover over the top to stop the heat loss in any wind. Obviously, scissors and a knife, whatever you have at home on hand, and works. That's all we need. You can use a stick or a skewer to hold the lid up, wooden skewer, but just a stick will be fine out the backyard. So very simple. Alright, just to demonstrate for purposes, so this little white box, now put the tin foil in that. It's not pretty by any measure of the imagination, but effective. So the idea is to have that open up as much as possible, so that the net obviously will point at the sun. Going to put some cling wrap over the top here, so the plastic wrap to keep the heat inside the box, and then that's easy access just to lift up when you put the s'more in. So I just use the gaffer tape, tin foil box, and scissors there to cut things up, but keeping it nice and simple. A little bit hard getting in the corners of the box, but it's probably because it's a little bit small. But for my purpose of cooking one or two s'mores up, that'll do fine. So this is the box solar oven with the cling wrap just embedded there. Just a bit of sticky tape at the back to hold it down at the back, but then loose enough to pick up and put the s'mores in from the front. If you want to get fancy, you can always put that little flap on the door at the front, at the bottom there. It's neither here nor there if you're careful. So looking at the ingredients for the solar s'mores, obviously you want to start with some baking paper. You can cut them as little circles to be plates. Biscuits, so you can adapt for allergies and intolerances, so you can have gluten-free. Otherwise, arrowroot biscuits are pretty plain. In the absence of that, something like ginger nuts will work fine. Chocolate melts, any type of chocolate, whatever suits your preference and taste. But chocolate will melt pretty good. And then marshmallows to cover things off. Obviously pink works best in this case, but some people prefer the white ones. So that's the ingredients. Using your ingredients, put the s'more together. So biscuit on the bottom, marshmallow and chocolate in combination that works for yourself, and place it gently in the solar oven and get that ready to get cooking. Okay, that's the solar oven built. That's all the ingredients prepared and put into the solar oven ready to go. Next step is get it out into the sunshine when you have it and cook away. Don't forget to time it, just out of interest, to see how long this takes. Alright, let's get cooking. Okay, as part of doing this activity, there's a few little tricks that can help you along the way. Keeping plenty of sun going into the solar oven is a major help. Keeping things out of the breeze and wind as best you can. Whilst we may have the cling wrap over the top as a heat trap to try and keep the heat in the box, the wind definitely still impacts on temperature, you'll find, quite quickly. Holding the box down so it doesn't blow away or spill whatever food you may have in there. And little tricks about keeping the lid open. You can try some skewers or just sticks to wedge it open, whatever you've got on hand and whatever works. And depending on what you're cooking, whether you need to move the solar oven around to keep that sunlight streaming in. So it's trial and error, adapting as we go, and what you learn. So get into it. Well, at about 8 minutes 30 in, the wind blew and tried to grab the box before it tipped over and helped it on its way. So that's chocolate melt at 8 minutes 30. Things rolled over. I tried to put it back, but it's all sticky and gooey in there. Hence the trying to have the baking paper or paper towel in there, but hey presto, having it on a slope, trying to make it easy to video so everybody can see it. That meant yeah, as it rolled, the chocolate on top missed the paper, which is just how it goes, doesn't matter. As a demonstration, that just shows how quickly the chocolate can melt. Good luck getting the marshmallows to melt. The different types of marshmallows have different levels of meltability, which is another level of science altogether. Anyway, I'd say that's a success. Small box. The only problem was we've got a storm coming in, which is going to carry over for the rest of the week, with a lot of wind and also the cloud coming over the sun quite significantly. So there's a fair bit of heat in the box. It's not enough to burn yourself, but you can sure feel the warmth and enough to melt the chocolate in 8.5 minutes, which I'm very happy with. There's going to be a heap of people interested in the science behind solar cooking. It's many and various. Just a first brain dump of some of the science behind this, and I'm sure it goes further and longer depending on interests and the many aspects of science, from engineering what you're actually making in terms of the solar oven, through to food science and the composition of food, temperatures it's cooking, pasteurization of water, and a lot of that reliant on energy and solar radiation. So environmental factors as well, the environmental science, all coming into play. And then as part of the engineering design of the solar oven, looking at the physics of that, the wavelength, the angles of the light collection bouncing around, heat absorption, reflection of the foil versus do you put some black materials inside the box on the walls to absorb heat and keep it in there. And as we learnt and practiced in this, having the thin skin of cling wrap to keep the heat in there as well. You can see on the chart there's some research, lots of research being done on this sort of thing, and we pretty much keep a temperature constant at around 20 degrees there by that chart, watching the temperature of the water in red shoot up over time. So going from 20 degrees, which was the ambient temperature in the environment, up to over 90 degrees. So food would have well and truly been cooking at that temperature to be, make sure the food temperature was safe and well cooked. So yeah, these things can work. A lot of science behind them. It's fairly simple sort of designs, and things get more complicated as you get into it. But plenty of science, and I'm sure you can think of more that would be relevant and interesting to look further into this. Every time I've made a solar oven, cooked with a solar oven, I've always learnt something different from each and every event and thing I've cooked. It might have been the size and shape of, say, the piece of bread that I cooked in the oven, or the design on the engineering side of the box. Little things like putting the cling wrap over, whilst it doesn't seem like much, makes a significant difference to actually getting things to melt, in the case of s'mores, through that heat transfer and capture. So in reviewing your activity, what did you learn from it? Surely there's one thing at least that you learnt. So probably a good time to stop, think about what you learnt, but also what would you do differently next time? Do you make it better? Try something bigger, a bigger box, different foods in there, to continue with that learning as you go. Is there something that you would not do again? I know that, as we saw in this example that I pre-filmed for us, having that box on an angle and in the wind just made for a disaster in the making and a spillage. But anyway, no harm was done. What would you do again? Well, definitely those chocolate buds. 8 minutes 30 on a pretty average day, getting that to work. So they're good in terms of getting results. So other thoughts, there's so many and varied, can you boil water in this box? Don't know, haven't tried yet, but might use it to boil water. Cook some eggs up. Was there enough size of the box and reflection of that heat and light into there to actually get the temperature up there? Maybe I need to get a measurement device, a thermometer, to just watch and see what temperatures it can get to. How'd you go? Have a think about that, and review your activity when you get to do it, and see what you learn from it, what you do again. Okay, hopefully that was a nice little taster for your introduction to Scouts Go Solar and Solar S'mores. Want to know more? Search for Earth Tribe on the Scouts Australia website, www.scouts.com.au. Otherwise, Scouts Go Solar is a Google search or whatever your search preference is. Heaps of resources on the internet, and so many different things you can get into across the whole solar activity program. On the Scouts Australia website there, for those interested, the webpage has the badge requirements and the 3 badge guidebooks for the activities for Champions for Nature, Plastic Tide Turners and Scouts Go Solar. Don't forget, if you're interested in doing projects as part of the special interest areas, following your own units processes in terms of getting them approved and underway. Otherwise, all I can say is get keen, have fun with this. There's science behind it, there's a heap of innovation, and at the end of the day, just a bucket load of fun. All right, stay safe. So after having an activity focused around the sun and what you can do from the sun and the science behind that, and a little bit of an activity of cooking there, I guess the sun's gone down and the stars have come up to close this one out. Hopefully it's been enjoyable, you've learnt something and been inspired to give some solar cooking a go, making s'mores, or maybe even taking it to a new level and trying something else. All right, well, that's it. The darkness is here. I'm signing out. That's Cricket over and out, and good luck with it.